cleaning fish and fishing and putting bait in the water gets the sharks excited, and we need to create distance between us, not bring the two together. If politicians wanted to make beach going safer in Australia, they would update the sewage, because the bait fish and the mullet follow the sewage and the bull sharks follow the bait fish. My name is Chris Pepin-Neff. I'm an associate professor of public policy at the University of Sydney, and I completed the first PhD on the politics of shark attacks. And that's 20 years. That's 20 years ago. So Flaws is about shark bites and emotional public policy making. So it's about how these highly emotional events create moments where politicians will often choose the easy out. And often the easy out is kill the shark. And it doesn't solve the problem, and it doesn't make the beach safer, and it doesn't help the nippers. And that was one of the flaws that I wanted to talk about. How do you manage very difficult, highly emotional issues? And for both the politicians and the public, because politicians don't want to lose their job, swimmers want to be safe, conservationists want to save sharks. So there's a lot of interests that are going on. I was hired by one of the local councils in Sydney Harbor, and I went to and did the assessment of their beach and the area. And I said, you realize you've got people gutting fish and fishing on top of swimmers. I think that was the big ask. I think that was the heaviest lift of the report that I provided to the council. It was that they don't need to ban fishing. You just can't have fishing on top of swimmers at the same time. So pick two different times or pick two different locations or do something. But it's a very observant point, because it was the hardest part of the report to deliver. I don't have a problem with people fishing. I just think you can't fish and gut the fish on top of swimmers. Like, everybody was swimming in the same area, and there were bull sharks swimming by in the summer in the harbor, and you've got 17-year-olds gutting fish on top of snorkelers. And that seemed to me to be a problem if you were trying to prevent shark bites. So but people have to make choices, and choices is gonna put someone in a bad mood, and so navigating that is tricky. To be perfectly honest, I think the most important one for me is the recommendation that people swim together, that you don't leave little kids alone, that if if kids are gonna go swim in the water, then there should be accompanied by an adult. And if it's Sydney Harbor, or if it's in swimming between the flags, whatever it is, I just generally think that with sharks, you always want to create an intimidating environment, and that has been pretty widely adopted, especially this year. So I'm really pleased about that. I had a journal article I did in 2015 called "The Jaws Effect" that sort of popped back up when they had the 50th anniversary of Jaws last year, and it was that sharks are not movie monsters. They're also not stuffed animals. So we need to be respectful of the ocean. We need to be mindful of that we are not the apex predator of the ocean, and that whether it's rip currents or blue bottles or box jellyfish or blue ring octopus or sharks, the ocean it's dynamic. And I always say, and it's not very popular, but the theory that all sharks are dangerous but all beaches are safe, I think is the opposite. I think some sharks are dangerous, and I think the beach, treating it as safe, I think is a bad idea. I think the ocean is a dynamic ecosystem, even when it looks calm. 80% of Australians live within an hour and a half of the beach. It's the front yard of the national identity of Australia, and I understand that. I've been an Australian citizen for 10 years. I've lived here for 20. I love the ocean, and I want more people to swim. And so one of the positive things that I've done, I think, is to push for more enclosures. So there's one at Cottesloe Beach in WA that I helped get in, and we want more funded enclosures at low energy beaches where you can where nippers can go in on Sunday morning and not have to worry. So but it's got to be the right type of beach and the right environment. But you can do temporary or full enclosures that protect people. You need to be sensible about the right kind of beach location.
Could you explain then the difference between an enclosure and a shark net?
Shark nets are It's kind of like throwing a napkin in a pool. It's 150 meters wide. I look at Bondi, it's 2 kilometers long. The shark net's 150 meters wide. The sharks can swim above it, they can swim below it, they can swim around it. 40% of the sharks that are caught in shark nets are caught on the swimmer side. So trying to get out, like they're already swimming with the swimmers. And the drone technology has sort of shown this, that you just see the sharks swim around the net and swim toward people, ignore the people, swim back around. So shark nets, the tricky bit is that they're not even a placebo. I think they're dangerous because it's just a regular fishing net. It's called a gill net, that catches fish in the gills, and that's what it does. And when a fish or bycatch, a dolphin, a turtle, another fish, another shark, anything that gets caught in a gill net, it struggles and it sends out this vibration that is like ringing the dinner bell for every shark in the area that says, come get an easy feed. And I don't think we should be setting that up in front of beaches. I think that's a terrible idea. And, I always say they have no studies that say that shark nets work. And I've got 5 studies that say if you put a fish in a gill net, the sharks will come looking for it. So that science is kind of on my side on this one. It's the humpback highway. You're killing calves and you're killing larger whales, and as well as ringing the dinner bell. Shark nets protect politicians. They don't protect beachgoers. And I think if the public knew that, that could change things. So the science being correct, even if it's more dangerous, doesn't necessarily win because of the politics. And so there's 2 different ways to approach it. One is to put pressure on politicians, and the other is just to tell the public the truth. I'm just going to tell the public the truth. The argument that, a good shark is a dead shark, or that killing sharks makes beaches safer is incorrect. There is no data to support it. What does support it is cleaner water, less broken sewer lines. If politicians wanted to make beaching going safer in Australia, they would update the sewage, because the baitfish and the mullet follow the sewage and the bull sharks follow the baitfish. I'm not sure the politicians are ready for that, but I think the public is. The Australian Shark Attack File changed its name to the Australian Shark Incident Database. The state of California no longer calls shark attacks, they're called shark incidents, because my data showed that 40% of all reported shark attacks had no injury whatsoever. So it just isn't comparable with some of these terrible incidents where people lose limbs or lose their lives. So we need different language.
So what was your reaction to the various videos going around, very popular videos going around, showing the shark fishermen within Sydney Harbour after those attacks, claiming that the numbers had absolutely exploded and they were in there fishing as many as they could to protect people?
I was publicly critical. It was my understanding that one of the fishermen was, I think, 100 meters off the beach, burlaying, in order to catch bull sharks to kill them. And they chummed for 8 hours before they caught that bull shark. So it's just dangerous. We just can't be chumming the water near 100 meters off a beach, whether it's sewage or fishing or shark nets. The issue is not the shark numbers. The issue is the amount of attractants that are in the water. It doesn't matter if there's 1 or 5 or 50 bull sharks in the harbor. If there's 1, unless we're planning on killing every single shark in Sydney Harbor, causing an environmental disaster, if there's 1 and you put an attractant in the water, it's going to come check it out. So the number is not really the variable that matters. The attractants is what we need to be paying attention to if we want to keep people safe. You never want to give a reward to wild animals. And I think we need to be a bit more respectful and give them the space that the ocean gives them. 20 degrees and above is sort of prime bull shark coming in toward the surface in the inshore area, a bit more, makes it a bit more likely. And 20 degrees and below is really white shark season. They like the colder water. And we're right now at a point, end of May in Sydney is about 20 degrees Celsius. We know from tagging and from scientific research that the white sharks are now in the inshore area in Sydney. So we need to be careful.